Two strangers share a bench while a third person crosses the square and watches for a few seconds. Nobody needs to know anyone else to share that space. Yet something important happens precisely because their lives briefly touch. Richard Sennett places this kind of encounter at the center of urban experience. His question can be framed like this: what do we lose when cities are designed to avoid difference and reduce the unexpected? Sennett examines how public space, architecture, and social practices influence our ability to live with strangers. The city can bring us close to people unlike ourselves. It can also separate us through excessively controlled environments. That tension turns urban design into a social and political question as well as a spatial one. The mechanism begins with the way spaces organize possible encounters. A street allows certain movements. A square brings different trajectories together. A building creates entrances, boundaries, and zones of contact. Social practices complete this architecture through uses that no plan can fully control. According to Sennett, these conditions influence how we experience difference. A highly controlled space can reduce uncertain situations and unexpected encounters. A more complex space allows a greater variety of contacts. For Sennett, the open city is an environment able to accept uses, differences, and changes that design does not fully determine. Openness does not mean the absence of form. It means leaving room for urban life to produce relationships that were not planned from the beginning. Imagine a first case in a public square. There are benches, crossing routes, and several activities sharing the same space. One person waits. Another talks. Someone crosses the square on the way somewhere else. No encounter needs to become a friendship. The relevant mechanism is simpler. People learn to share their presence with others who have different rhythms, habits, or interests. This can be read as an urban education in coexistence. Tolerance no longer appears as an abstract idea. It is practiced by accepting that common space contains behavior we cannot control. Public space facilitates this experience because it places differences within a shared situation. For Sennett, contact with strangers matters because it exposes us to a social reality more complex than our immediate circle. A second case appears through architecture. Imagine a development whose design leaves edges capable of accepting change and unexpected uses. A zone intended for movement later supports a conversation. A boundary allows connections rather than blocking them completely. A new activity finds room without requiring the entire place to be rebuilt. Here, incompleteness gains value. It does not mean that architecture is badly finished. It means that architecture keeps the capacity to evolve through uses that appear later. The supplied argument connects complexity and incompleteness with the open city. Our interpretation is that an overly finished environment can become fragile when something unexpected occurs. An open city accepts some uncertainty because residents and social practices continually change. The third case reveals the contrast. Imagine an urban space where every activity has a precise zone and every movement is anticipated. Entrances are clearly separated. Unexpected uses find few opportunities. This order can provide comfort and predictability. It can also reduce contact with different people and activities. The effect does not depend only on a physical barrier. Social practices can reinforce separation when each group repeatedly occupies different spaces. Sennett values complexity precisely against these excessively controlled environments. This can be read as a critique of cities designed to eliminate friction. Some friction is uncomfortable, but encounters with difference can also produce learning. A form of coexistence without exposure to others risks becoming nothing more than organized separation. There is a strong counterargument. Urban control can also provide clarity, safety, and ease of use. Completely open architecture does not automatically resolve conflicts between different people. Not every unexpected encounter produces tolerance or learning either. Difference can generate tension, discomfort, and disagreement. This argument deserves serious attention because it prevents us from romanticizing public space. Sennett's position does not require a choice between absolute order and chaos. He values a city capable of living with complexity and incompleteness. My interpretation is that the problem begins when control removes every possibility for adaptation and encounter. Designing boundaries remains necessary. The question is whether those boundaries operate as closed barriers or allow relationships between different people, activities, and spaces. The civic dimension of the argument now becomes visible. The supplied material connects diversity and contact with learning, tolerance, and citizenship. This can be read as a demanding idea of public life. Being a citizen does not mean only sharing institutions with other people. It also means learning to occupy a world containing strangers we did not choose. Public space turns that condition into everyday experience. Architecture can support it when it allows mixture and transformation. Social practices can expand it when they accommodate diverse uses. My editorial reading is that an excessively personalized city can weaken our capacity to coexist. If every space selects who enters, what happens and who meets, difference loses presence. Comfort may increase, while urban experience becomes socially narrower. Return to the bench from the opening scene. The strangers still do not know each other and may never meet again. Yet for several minutes they practiced something deeply urban, sharing space with someone different. Our initial question asked what we lose when we try to control cities too much. Sennett allows us to answer that we may lose opportunities to live with what we did not choose. The open city does not promise permanent harmony. It keeps room for complexity, change, and contact. That incompleteness may look like a defect to a logic obsessed with control. From another perspective, it is a capacity. It allows new uses and new relationships to appear over time. A city can be perfectly organized and remain socially closed. Opening it means leaving room for difference within common life.